What is multi-factor authentication for financial advisors, and why does it actually matter? In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the things that you need to know in the finance world about what it is that you should be doing in order to take the right first steps so you can have the best possible chances of success and also remove the fear, or at least mitigate as much fear as possible about getting hacked, and knowing that your business is taking the right steps to being more secure. If you'd like to learn more about us, you can either visit the link down below or check us out online at securewealthit.com. So let's talk about multi-factor authentication. What actually is multi-factor authentication? Well, MFA stands for multi-factor authentication. It's multiple factors authenticating who the actual person is that is using those tools. Now, it means logging in and basically having more than one proof of identity. The last thing that we want is financial individuals, or realistically anybody, to get hacked out there. And this is where this starts to shine. You can enable multi-factor authentication across most devices. Heck, you probably already are dealing with it on a somewhat regular basis. If you're signing into Amazon, if you are verifying your financial accounts, you're probably getting it. But you can do it in a variety of different areas. But here are some quick examples that you can have. Something you know, right, is a password in most cases. And typically passwords should be at least 12 characters long, sometimes as many as 15 or 16, with a combination of symbols, letters, and numbers. That way, the likelihood of a hack or breach is as low as it possibly can. A good, strong password. But also something you have to back up that password. So now we have that first layer, that security layer, that password. The next is the next step in the process, kind of building that up. That is phone or security key. Now you might have an authentication app already on your phone, whether it's from Google, Microsoft, or some other provider out there. It usually gives you about 6 numbers, 3 and 3, and they change about every minute. That way you always have a fresh, basically additional password in there. But what if that's not enough? What if you got a code to your phone and put that in, and that wasn't quite the necessary thing that you needed? Let's talk about the next thing. Something that you have that nobody else has. In many cases, a fingerprint or face. Now, if you're an Android user, typically you'll have the fingerprint on your phone, or if you're on Apple or Android, you have the Face ID. Heck, even some computers have both. This is really important. Most advisors are already using this without truly realizing. You can log into Microsoft 365 and make it easier. You can ask for a code on your phone. That is multi-factor authentication. Now, you've probably gotten some pushback from your employees, from your team. Heck, maybe you just get irritated about it. But I want to explain why passwords alone aren't truly enough. Right? There is a ton of problems with passwords, believe it or not. Common ways passwords get stolen is a phishing email. And what a phishing is, it's not casting out and on the beach. It is truly an email that comes in hoping that somebody is not paying attention or not looking for, hey, this is something bad. Right? That's one way. Data breaches and your information getting leaked online is another. If you haven't heard about the dark web right now, think of the Upside Down in Stranger Things. It's where all the hackers hang out, and they're constantly trying to get data and leaking it out to their friends. Another easy way for passwords to get breached is reused passwords. Now, I hope that nobody watching this is using password 123, but we have to get a little creative in there. Maybe it's P, capital P better yet, an @ sign as an A, SSW0RD1 exclamation point. Something really kind of crazy. Things that you wouldn't normally think of. A common thing that I typically tell people is use a small phrase. Hunter is my dog, right? Something catchy that nobody's going to figure out, and throwing letters and symbols and numbers all together to build your password. But the thing is hackers do not want to break into systems anymore. They log in using stolen credentials that they're buying from their friends or finding online in the dark web typically. If an attacker gets that password, but MFA is turned on, they are usually blocked. Now, I hope that you've never experienced this, but every once in a while, sometimes even myself, I'll get somebody, so-and-so's trying to log into your account, or here's the password, don't hand it out to somebody. Somebody's still getting into my stuff somewhere. Now, usually it's old video game accounts I haven't touched in years, but that's the reality of it, is it's still happening. And just because they figured out my password doesn't mean they're getting in, because that's what multi-factor authentication actually does. They have machines and tools that are trying to constantly crack that. But without that additional verification layer, it doesn't actually allow anyone to get through. And that's how multi-factor authentication actually works. You want to enter in, when you're logging in, a username and your password, whatever your password may be, hopefully a secure one. Then the system asks for a second verification method. And that's where you can go into that authenticator app, putting in typically those 6 digits, maybe a push notification saying, you know what, is this you? Click a text message, usually with a 6 or 8-digit code, or a security key. Whatever it is works for those systems is the thing that you're going to end up doing. But that's the second step that proves it's really you, even if you gave somebody those credentials. Now, if you gave somebody those credentials and they were supposed to get in, which you shouldn't be doing that, but if they were supposed to get in, you could then forward over that usual code over to that person. Look, I think some of us might be guilty of doing that with our Netflix, but I'm not the one pointing any fingers. But even if somebody has the password, they still can't get in. And that's the beauty of multi-factor authentication. So when we're working with financial advisors, we consistently see a variety of different things. And I want to talk about the common options that you can actually use. Authenticator apps are great. You can use Microsoft and you can use Google, are the 2 most common currently out there. And some of the other great recommended options are use text message codes. They're easy, they are technically less secure, so you have to be careful there. Push notifications for approving a login, typically to your phone, is another fantastic one. And security keys. Now, some of you may or may not know this, but it actually goes on your key set. It's a physical USB key. And you can use that as a very secure, but less common way of actually having that level of multi-factor authentication. Is some better than the others? Text messages usually aren't the best, but you having something where it's consistently changing every minute or so is fantastic. In that Google or Microsoft area is phenomenal. That's exactly what you want. But why is MFA required for financial advisors? This is where things get crazy. It's for compliance, and it's also for the safety of you and your clients. You're dealing with tremendous amounts of assets under management. The last thing that you want to have to do is write an email saying, we got hacked. It's the worst thing, because not only do you lose trust in all of your clients, but now you are under the watch of the alphabet agencies, as I call them, FINRA, SEC, FCC, and others. It is a true nightmare. But financial firms deal with, you guessed it, client financial data, social security numbers, almost, well, maybe not unrestricted, but some level of account access. And because of this, regulators are expecting stronger security, and your clients also want it as well. Multi-factor is now expected by the SEC, which I've already mentioned, right? Cybersecurity guidance, the FINRA expectations, cybersecurity insurance, if you don't have that already, and most custodians require some level of it. If you don't have multi-factor authentication, you are taking a serious risk in your business, and I highly advise you to start looking at least in implementing it. It doesn't matter who you're actually working with, but go to your tech person, and if you need one, we are happy to work with you at Secure Wealth IT to start implementing multi-factor. So where should they actually enable multi-factor authentication? And if you're wondering and you're starting your morning off with this video, please don't have a sip for every time I've said multi-factor authentication. But the basics, your email is the most important. Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace is the first line of defense. Also, your CRM, whatever it is that you decide to use, Wealthbox, Redtail, whatever it may be, make sure you pick the right stuff. Custodian portals should also have it, and most of the time they usually do. Financial planning software, eMoney is a great example. You have to have it on. And last but not least, probably the most important, if you use a password manager, it should absolutely, positively have a multi-factor authentication feature turned on, because this is the most important thing. But email is the top of the food chain, because with that, if email gets compromised, attackers can reset passwords everywhere. It is so, so simple once they get in. And if you're thinking, it's not going to happen to me, I promise you, They have nothing better to do than try to hack your system. And the worst is, it's pretty much all automated. But as soon as they get access to your system, they immediately can start changing it, and it only takes a few minutes. You could be in a meeting, you could be driving to a meeting without looking at your phone, hopefully, and it could be happening in just 5 or 10 minutes. Heck, even faster for the pros. It's the easiest way to stay secure. And if you took away one thing from this video, please let it be passwords alone are not enough anymore. It used to be great, and the longer the password, the absolute more secure it is. But that's only the first line of defense. Multi-factor authentication is one of the easiest ways to dramatically improve your security. It takes a minute to turn on. Yes, it's a pain in the butt every single time. Even as a technology and security person myself, I totally agree. But it is the easiest way to prevent hacks and people getting into your system. And I don't want that for you. If you'd like to learn more about us, securewealthit.com. I will leave a link down below. I appreciate you watching this video, and hopefully you learned something. I'll see you in the next one.